Welcome everyone to a very special edition of Bird Coverage. I'm your host Curtis.
And I'm Joel.
And we're here to talk to you about the Turkey Day games, Thanksgiving, and we sure do have a bunch of turkeys playing on Thanksgiving. I'm going to let your good friend Joel talk about his Philadelphia Eagles. Speaking of turkeys.
I got nothing to say about the Eagles.
I'll talk about the Eagles if you want me to.
I've got more to say about the fans of Philadelphia than the actual players of Philadelphia.
Well, the Eagles are playing Detroit.
The Detroit Lions in Detroit.
In Detroit.
In the Dome.
And we have two very underachieving teams. Philly last year was 10-6, and now they're 4-6. Detroit was 11-5, and they're 3-7. So when they made this schedule, it looked like a good game. Of course, Detroit plays every year, but
They play actually 16 times every year.
So what happened?
What do you mean?
With these teams, you know?
Well, I think that Chip Kelly brought in a completely new offense, new starting wide receiver, new starting quarterback. We lost our number one wide receiver, and I had to elevate some guys, and it's just a matter of getting into the flow and learning each other's tendencies as an offensive juggernaut. I have no doubt. I still believe full-heartedly in Chip Kelly and his offense. I'm very disappointed in the fans of Philadelphia who are calling for his head and asking him to go coach another college team. But you know,
shocking Philly fans.
I know it's you know what? When things go wrong, you're supposed to circle the wagons. I'm very disappointed in all the phonies in Philadelphia.
Have they ever circled the
root
wagons?
for your team? Well, I mean, for Andy Reid, we had Andy Reid for 14 years, and he had a losing record 6 of those years. You guys seem to forget that. And he only had 10-win seasons back-to-back twice. In his entire 14-year career, Chip Kelly's done it his first 2 years, whatever. I don't want to get another comment about me.
So what do you think of their chances against the Detroit team?
I think it's a blowout. I don't even know who's starting at quarterback. If I had to guess, I would say it's going to be Bradford. Bradford's cleared the concussion protocol. So now it's just his non-throwing AC joint of his shoulder. So if I had to guess, I would say it's Bradford. But with one bad hit, he could be out again. But again, it's non-throwing. I think Bradford gives us the best opportunity to win. He was completing 63% of his passes all season, which would be a career high. And this is a quarterback known for his high completion percentage. So yes, I look for a complete rebound game. I think the entire Eagles offense and defense is just completely embarrassed by the atrocious nature of what they called a game last week, giving up career games to Jameis Winston and Doug Martin. Props to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Second best rushing game for Doug Martin, but continue.
Yeah, whatever. So no, I look for a rebound game. Zach Ertz is going to be out this week. Ryan Matthews is still out, both with concussions. So I think Brent Self's a good play, but I also would look them to focus more on the wide receivers. So Jordan Matthews, I like. Although Detroit's been very good, they're getting better throughout the season. That's the last month, especially against number one wide receivers. So whoever our number two wide receivers is going to be this week, whether it be Josh Huff, Nelson Aguilar, I would look for them to make some noise as well. I don't like DeMarco Murray in this game at all.
Yeah, and on the flip side, on the Detroit side, we were both really high on Stafford last week. We thought that maybe they'd turn the corner. That didn't really happen. Stafford's only touchdown was a rushing touchdown, which didn't necessarily save his day, but it helped a little bit. Didn't probably win you any money either.
You never buy Matthew Stafford because of his rushing ability.
That's exactly right. I like to pick on Byron Maxwell, and I will again. He's up against Calvin Johnson this week. Calvin Johnson, though he has not put up the huge Calvin Johnson numbers that we're used to, he still is putting up over 80 yards a week the past 4 or 5 weeks, getting his catches still. Last week we saw the Bucs spread the ball around, and there's not really any good secondary there. So, you know, if you wanted to roll the dice, you're going to watch football on Thanksgiving. You know, the Stafford Calvin play. I can see that going out well.
And if you want a flyer, Amir Abdullah has been getting more carries, and he has been named the lead back by James Robert Cooter. So I don't know. The Eagles have been having problems with pass catching backs the last few weeks. So for a very cheap play, you might be able to slide him into a lineup here or there.
Good.
That's the 12:30 game.
That's the 12:30. Then we have Carolina at Dallas. Once again, talk about when they made the schedule and what's come to pass. If I told you that one of these teams would be undefeated at the beginning of the year and one of these teams would be 3-7, you probably wouldn't have picked the right teams.
I would have.
Yeah, okay. Good. Oh, of course you would have. NFC East. Carolina 10-0, of course, coming in against the 3-7 Dallas. Albeit, as many a Cowboy fan will tell you, they've won every game that Romo started, and this is a game that Romo's starting. Do the Cowboys have any chance in this game?
Yes, it's in Dallas. I am calling for Carolina. I think Carolina is playing out of their head, and I give them all the props in the world. Cam Newton has been a leader of epic proportions, something that we've never seen out of him thus far in his career. But I'm calling for the Cowboys to win this game, unfortunately, as much as that kills me.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I think the Cowboys take this game.
Well, I will say that
I think it's going to be. I think that it's not a blowout by any stretch, but it'll be by less than a touchdown. Yeah, I'm looking for a 28-21 score.
I think it'll be a good game. And whenever Sean Lee is on the field, as we've mentioned several times, the Dallas defense is like night and day for them. And he will be on the field this week. Romo makes them a much better team, certainly better than whatever fill-in quarterback here that they put in along the way. And finally got a connection with Dez last week. So it looks like they're starting to hit the ground running. And McFadden's been a nice surprise for them this year. Those of you who held on to McFadden through thick and thin, congratulations in your yearly league. But it's hard. All the matchups look bad.
Well, because Carolina's defense is playing so well, but you don't get to 10-0 without playing really good defense. So obviously the matchups are going to look bad, but Carolina's not going to 16-0. Let's be realistic. And this is the perfect game. This is a perfect trap game for Carolina to lose.
And Cam is just so confident right now, almost too confident. Watching. I love a confident quarterback or a confident player in general. But he'll get a 3-yard rush for a first down, and he's out there dancing Superman. Yeah, like let's take a step back here and just concentrate on winning these games. And for Carolina, as we've seen with Green Bay and Atlanta, losses tend to spiral, especially when you've been a good team. They still play in a division with some teams that are competing. They lose one game, could get out of control. I don't think they're going to overlook the Cowboys on Thanksgiving in Dallas.
No, but who has more to play for in this game? Like, at this point, all Carolina is playing for is a perfect season. Dallas still, even though they went on a 7-game losing streak, is still in 2 games outside of this division. The NFC East is terrible. They still have a puncher's chance in this division.
I mean, all you have to play for is a perfect season. I mean, it's only been done once or twice.
I mean, yeah, but it's not that. That's not this team's makeup. Like, if the Patriots are playing for a perfect season, I think it tends to carry a little more weight than Carolina being 10-0. No, Carolina's not going to be 16-0. Carolina's going to be 14-2.
I can see Jonathan Stewart having a big game. He's also
like
fairly cheap at $5,200 in DraftKings. He's been scratching or he broke 100 yards last week. Still, the problem with him is that he's not the red zone guy. He just doesn't get the touches. Either Cam or Mike Tolbert vultures them. So as a play in fantasy, he's risky in that regard. But as a regular football player on a Carolina Panthers team, he's very good. And also Ted Ginn has been a pleasant surprise for this team. He actually looks like a number 1 receiver sometimes. That's not the case though. Just in a depleted offense, he's carried the weight that Funchess was supposed to. And then, of course, we always have Greg Olsen. But with Sean Lee back, I see them fairly neutralizing Greg Olsen. Not a huge game. But it's going to be a fun game to watch for sure.
If anyone, I also think Jason Witten could be a really strong play as well.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of that middle tier. He's not top 5 in prices on DraftKings for tight ends, but he's top 10. And, when Romo's in, him and Witten are just, they're money in the bank.
And last and maybe least, Chicago at Green Bay. This is a game where the teams actually are kind of who we thought they were. Chicago 5-11 and they're 4-6. Green Bay 12-4 and they're 7-3. It is still a division game, and these teams have a lot of history and a lot of pride and a lot of games on Thursday. But the problem is that this is in Green Bay. If we're in Chicago, I could see somebody maybe saying Chicago has a chance. I don't see that happening. We have seen good Cutler recently. They almost beat the Broncos. The Broncos still have a fantastic defense. Brock Osweiler played a solid game. And now they're going to play Aaron Rodgers at home on Thanksgiving. I just don't see Chicago having a chance here.
Yeah, Jay Cutler's going to be the turkey of the day. But in this game, I really like Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy last week went 22 carries for 100 yards. And he looked really good. He's gone through a couple injuries. He got benched in favor of James Starks at one point. But I really think he's retaken the lead back role. And the Packers want him to be the lead back. It's just a completely different offense when you have Eddie Lacy running well. And he did have 19 rushes for 85 yards and a touchdown when they played the Bears earlier this season. And like Curtis said, this is in Lambeau, and it's going to be rainy and windy in Lambeau, which means a heavy run game. I anticipate Aaron Rodgers getting his numbers like he always does in Lambeau. But I think when push comes to shove, this is going to be it's not going to be ideal playing conditions. I think it's going to be really a big Eddie Lacy game. He's going for 4,700 on DraftKings, 6,500 on the duel.
Well, big Eddie Lacy, I think you landed on something there inadvertently. Eddie Lacy looks fat.
Fat Eddie.
He does not look like an in-shape back. And
he's never been a thin back, though. That's always been his thing.
It's true, but neither is LeGarrette Blount.
Fat Eddie.
But LeGarrette Blount is big and fast on his feet. Like, Lacy looks lumbering. And he did break a few, and I was like...
22 for 100.
Pleasantly surprised. But it's still hard for me to put money on Lacy. Every time I think that he's going to do something, he doesn't. And yes, he did have a good game against a good defense last week. So if you want to hang your hat on that. If I was gonna put any money on this game, I'd probably go on the other side. You know, Cutler's cheap; he's gonna be throwing it. Alshon's got to play if they have any shot at even pretending they're a playoff team, which they still have barely a chance. They're barely alive in that hunt. And we'll have I wouldn't play either the running backs, Forte or Langford, because they'll probably split carries at best. Martellus Bennett is always an intriguing play, but. I don't know, Lacy's...
No way, man. Just like in The Hustler, bet on Fat Eddie.
You also have two Green Bay wide receivers that could do some damage, and neither of them are Cobb. I think Devontae,
Devontae's hurt.
If he plays. But James Jones really has been a pleasant surprise for Green Bay in the fantasy world. He's only 4,600 this week, so if Devontae's out...
He's too touchdown dependent. He's not a possession guy.
He's had some decent games.
When he catches touchdowns.
Once again, this is for the degenerates. There's a couple Draft Street and FanDuel have their only Thanksgiving Day games. You're trying to piece something together there. I think he's worth a look if you need to squeeze in somebody inexpensive.
Yeah, I accidentally played 5 lineups tomorrow.
Whoops.
Because they have that new thing where it's just repeat your lineup.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
And accidental, and then you can't remove it. So I was forced to play 5 lineups tomorrow.
Yeah, I will say, and knock on wood for you, that when I've done that, that's been like my shittiest lineup of the whole week. I'm like, God damn it, why did I play this other one?
I was like, wait, how do I have 5 lineups in this contest?
I'm gonna be so drunk on wine and tryptophan by the end of that game, it's not even gonna matter.
I'm working all day tomorrow, and I will be the same. Hey, boss.
Hey, and your boss will be drunk too.
Yeah, but she won't be there.
I'm Curtis.
And I'm Joel.
And thanks for joining us on this special Thanksgiving Day edition of Burnt Coverage.
Happy Turkey Day.
See you later.